totally knew who Tintin was before this movie was announced. The Adventures of Tintin. This is going to be a short review because there really isn't much to say about this movie. Tintin was a series of comic books, and then it was like a TV show way back when. And they basically took a lot of elements from each story and then just crammed it together to make one big adventure. And for the most part, it's a fun little movie. Tintin is voiced by Jamie Bell, and he does a good job portraying him as that scruffy young do-gooder that's surprisingly not afraid to use a gun. Tintin is like the local mystery solver, crime fighter, whatever, and I like how this wasn't an origin story. Like, during the opening credits, they established that Tintin has been at this for a while. Accompanying him is his trusty dog Snowy, who at times seems to be a lot smarter than Tintin is. And together they find a ship model that a couple people seem to be after and get swept up in this one big adventure because that model contains a secret. The villain is voiced by Daniel Craig, and he did a good job. Like, Daniel Craig should do villains more often. But yeah, he and Tintin have like this little back and forth going on at the start. Further along, Tintin meets Captain Haddock, voiced by Andy Serkis, and he's got an interesting personality. And then with those two together, thus begins a good old-fashioned, simple action romp that'll eventually lead to treasure. I'd rather not give too much of the plot away. But in all honesty, there isn't that much to say. Like, the motion capture worked well for the film, the action set pieces were great, the 3D was nice, but didn't really improve the experience. Occasionally, Tintin would run into Thompson and Thompson, two detectives voiced by Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and they provided some nice comic relief. As for flaws, I'm totally nitpicking by saying this, and like, I know it's PG, but there are a few times where somebody that got shot or stabbed and you'd see no blood. I mean, it's there in some scenes, but like, I remember at one point seeing a guy get stabbed with a sword, then the dude pulled it out, there was no blood on the sword. So that was a bit questionable. And that might have sounded graphic, but this movie is totally kid appropriate. But other than that, the movie was fun, never did anything too great, but there wasn't anything wrong with it. It was just a simple ride.